My name is Stephen Rafferty, and you're watching These Are Questions. This is the interview show where I ask people questions about things, life, and such not. Today's guest is a talented filmmaker, videographer, and he is the owner and founder of his production company, Shade Life Studios. Please welcome Brendan Eldom.
How you doing, Steven? Thanks for having me, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for being a part of These Are Questions, Season 3. It's going to be a fun, exciting interview.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it, man. I really appreciate you. We go way back, too, so this is nice to catch up on a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, before we get all into the catching up and into the feels, I need to explain to you the rules of These Are Questions. Brendan, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. It's going to be based around your career and aspirations, along with a mixture of questions that are borderline idiotic and, well, randomly stupid.
My type of good time.
It's good time. Okay, cool. With that, do you accept those terms?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Alrighty. So, Brendan, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Ready to go.
Ready to go. Internet, are you ready? I'm looking around, I'm looking at the heavens, I'm looking above, and I see someone giving a thumbs up, so I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. With that, let's begin. So, as you mentioned, we go way back. And I mean, we've known each other for quite a long time now. And I know that you are an incredible videographer, story maker, and a creative. I want to know, how did you dive into the wacky, less traveled world of being a creator?
Well, I would say that it started from my dance career. Well, I don't say dance career, but my lifestyle of dance. I've been break dancing since I was like 14 years old. And in the culture of breaking, it's very close to skate culture, where you are performing moves, doing creative things, and recording it so that you can, check later on to see how it looks and then document it. It's a big documenting aspect that it comes with the culture. So breaking is very similar. So that just became a normal thing in my childhood or teenage years. And that transitioned into, well, what else can you do with a camera? What else can you do to tell a story? So there's a big love for documenting life in its rawest, truest form. And then there's also the art and craft of storytelling, which I went to school for back in high school. I went to a BOCES program. And that was something that just kind of changed my perspective on film and storytelling and the perspective of humanity through a lens, metaphorically and realistically. And that's pretty much the backstory of how I got into, at least in the idea of filmmaking.
Okay. Very cool. And it's interesting there because not so much in dance, because I can dance, but I would say I didn't get my roots in dancing, but I started not necessarily as my dream passion as going into videography and filmmaking at first. I was originally a computer programmer way back. So I led from programming and IT to actually going into filmmaking and creative endeavors and projects. And I know you're an amazing storyteller because we collaborated together on my New Journey Begin series. And
fun.
I like the fact that you took my kind of off the cuff ideas and you brainstorm it to where we can make an amazing project together, and you had your creative vision and your creative touches in both a storytelling perspective, but also from a production perspective and production standpoint to really make those series of videos really stand out. So,
I mean, that's one thing that I really love about production itself, although in today's world is a little bit of a solo game, but production is so collaborative. It has to be. Like people excel in their different areas, from ideas to technical skills. So whenever there's a solid collaboration, I'm always down for it.
Absolutely. And I can attest, please, if you need awesome videos, I'm already shilling already, but if you need awesome, amazing videos and just creative stories being made, he's the guy.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. And, another commonality that we both share is that we both have done official TEDx talks. On These Are Questions, you are the third guest, not including myself, who has done a TEDx talk and has also been on These Are Questions. The first guest was Casio Cat, who was also in our TEDx group in 2016. He was a part of season 1, and Alonzo Williams, who was a part of TEDx 2017, and he was in our season 2 of These Are Questions. My actual question for this is, can you go back to that day and explain what was in your psyche at that time as you were preparing to present your TEDx talk?
Ooh. At the time, I was big into community leadership. Again, being involved in the dance community, there's a big part of what community means to my life, how important it is. And I honestly believe that community can change the world in so many ways. So when I was presented with this, I was simultaneously, while I was running my community endeavors within the dance community, I do this event along with my wife called House of Drums. It's been running for over almost 9 years now.
Wow.
So that was the big inspiration of wanting to share a bit of that information and just that experience. But simultaneously, I was also studying to become a pastor at the time. And that's a big part of my public speaking journey. TEDx kind of was like a middle ground of that training in public speaking, but then also sharing a passion of mine, which is community leadership, and how community has affected me, but then also how it can really inspire others. And an interesting thing, I think that talk kind of showed me so much about the potential, not just with community, but communicating about community itself. I really realized how the effect that it can have on others. So that's kind of where I was at. And that would probably be what I would consider my quote unquote life calling, which is just bringing people together, no matter what race, background, culture they may or may not be. But I think community is so important for all of us. So that's where I was at during that talk.
Okay, that's a interesting mentality to be preparing for that, because I remember that day pretty vividly. There was a lot of emotions going around for everyone involved because of the magnitude of the performance itself, because it's an official TED Talk. Like, for people that are in public speaking or just being creatives and communication professionals, this is like the cream of the crop. This is one of the highest plateaus you can do in public speaking and in performance. It's definitely up there. And there was such a whirlwind of emotions going around through that day. And I remember yours very well because you literally got the audience off their feet with some of the performance that you were doing, and also the way you presented your talk and discussing about community in itself and bringing all different walks of life together within a diverse and essential part of that community. So I remember yours being a big standout. Obviously everyone's was a standout, but I remember yours pretty well.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was probably one of my first platform, so to speak, outside of any structure that I'm a part of. My public speaking started actually within the House of Drums, where the event that I did, we kind of created a segment of the night where I can share some thoughts and everything. And when I was doing the talk, I do remember as well just the, how do I put it? It was weird. It was being a part of a community, talking about community. So it just kind of went full circle within the experience. So I still to this day, I think it's a pivotal moment in where I really seen the potential, not only in my life, but also seeing what I could do with words itself. I think that it's kind of like reading a book and then having a quote, and how like just one quote can change your life. Like how it's worded and how it's presented, or even just imagery itself. And at the end of the day, just like we always talk about, that's storytelling. So whether it's in imagery form or in verbal form, it's a craft, it's an art on how you tell a story.
Absolutely. 100%. There's nothing like it. And when everything all comes together, it just makes an amazing, once in a lifetime, one of a kind performance. So, man, for me, it was one of my all-time favorite performances that I got to witness for the cast and crew that were involved, and also for myself as a performer. It's one of my all-time favorite speeches I've ever done. So,
yeah, absolutely. You did great too.
Thank you. We all did great. Everyone did great.
It was a fun day.
Yeah, it was definitely. This kind of goes to my next question. It's an important question. Do you think that 600 Transformers robots, so like Optimus Prime, like the movies and the television show, do you think 600 Transformers can stop one Pikachu?
That's a tough one because Pikachu, that's a lot of metal for conducting electricity. So I don't know. I think Pikachu, in his right mind, in his right strategies, it depends too on which Pikachu we're talking about. We're talking about mature Pikachu, or we're talking about like adolescents still learning Pikachu. But then again, Transformers are a well-oiled machine, literally and metaphorically. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it honestly would just depend on if it's raining or not.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, the weather can play the ultimate role there, because if it was like, really sunny out and there's no rain, then I would assume Transformers would probably have an advantage. But if it's a rainstorm and you have an electrical Pokemon and he's doing, thunderbolts everywhere, I could see a lot of robots being short-circuited.
No, that's real stuff. It's like Sasuke versus Itachi, it's just depends. Itachi was technically a better fighter at the time, but Sasuke just played his cards right and used lightning from the skies. So it just depends on where people are at. Anyone can win and anyone can lose.
That's true. But you're right. And everyone can just have a fight together at the end of the day. So,
but Optimus Prime is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I know Transformers. I always liked Megatron, even though he was the bad guy. I just always liked his way they designed his character and stuff, and like his moves that he can do. So I thought it was always pretty cool. I always was into like more of the darker Transformers, more of the more, I guess, evil, but more of the cooler looking ones. Like Optimus Prime is cool, but I was like Megatron and Starscream. That was cool. So.
Oh man, I love his. It's like he has like good intentions and then just a bad approach to it, like most villains. And that's like the psychology of villains. Is villains honestly truly believe what they're doing is the right thing.
Yeah, they have a complex.
Exactly, they look at it as villains. I always say that villains are once victims. It's like Magneto, his perspective on how he wants to go about it, but he was also a Holocaust survivor. So his idea of trying to take out humanity, I don't want to say it's right or wrong, but it's justified in his perspective of how he feels about humanity. So it's always an interesting thing. That's why I like the psychology of a villain. Look at now Joker in so many ways, how we're trying to create a compassion towards villains and what they go through and how they became who they became, or Cruella for that example.
Yep.
I always find this stuff fascinating. So I'm with you. When I was in the gym, I was just wearing a villain shirt from Naruto. So I'm all about it.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Hey, get you pumped up when you're going through the gym. That motivation there. Hey,
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, next question. Are you a Picasso, Vincent Van Gogh, or a Bob Ross type of guy?
Bob Ross.
The OG. Legend.
Bob Ross. I would say to some extent I'm a Renaissance man.
Okay.
But I think that Bob Ross sticks out because he what he creates is very freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Like he goes with an idea, but then he also allows his creativity to kind of just happen. Like how he says, it's not a mistake, it's a happy mistake or something like that.
Happy mistake. I think it's happy little accident is a
happy little, yeah. So that and that idea of creativity really resonates with me. Actually, whenever I'm creating in the creative process, I try my best to look at how he would look at it in an idea of a painting. You have an intent. It's like writing a book. You have an intention, but then the intention, even as you go into it, you're kind of fighting this other perspective, which is like the book just wants to become its own thing, not what you want to create, and you have to allow it to happen that way. So yeah, I really resonate with that perspective of creativity.
Very cool. Very cool. I could definitely see you as a Bob Ross type of guy. Definitely the way your personality is.
I just don't have as much hair as him. That's it.
Well, you can get it. You could just go to the store and get a Bob Ross wig, and just
I need to get on your level. That's what I need to get.
here to take it. I have too much. I tried to donate hair a long time ago, but they didn't accept it. So maybe in the future, yeah, they have. It's like, I'm gonna compare it with Guinness World Records. When I did my world record, when you do the process to do your hair, depending on what company you go to. Long story short, there's a lot of rules and requirements, and you can't have like certain types of hair. You can't have certain dyed hair. It has to follow a certain like thickness and strain, because they have to basically like bleach the hair and then make it to the design that they're trying to make for it to make the actual wig. So it's actually a process. It's not like, oh, I can just, here's my hair, go do with it. No. There's actually like papers and forms, and it's a process. So if you had to make a lasagna for Garfield, what type of lasagna would you make and why?
Let me think. What type of lasagna?
No pressure.
Maybe an eggplant. I think eggplant lasagna. I think. I don't really have a response of why I would do that. I feel like Garfield would just enjoy it the same way that I would. Actually, I'm probably completely wrong on that one now that I think about it. I don't know. That's a tough one.
I mean, they have eggplant parmesan all the time. I think an eggplant lasagna actually sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
I don't think Garfield would deny it. I don't think he'll deny like any lasagna, to be honest. I think he'll eat any of it. Like, if it's meat lovers, if it's spinach, if it's eggplant, I mean, if it's just lasagna, like he'll probably have it. Like,
now that I said it, I want it for dinner. Now I think about it, I love Italian food, and eggplant. I don't know why, it's just kind of stuck in my head. Now I want it. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, you can get it for lunch or dinner tonight. So whenever after this interview, you could just go right to a store, right to a pizza restaurant.
I'm probably just gonna go to the frozen food section and I get it where I can just heat it in the oven. Those are the best. Those are the best ones, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're not sponsored by them, but if you want a good eggplant parmesan, that's store bought. Michelangelo's is really good. They have a really good.
I'm writing it down right now. I'm writing it down.
They have a good eggplant parm. Not sponsored by them, unless Michelangelo's want to sponsor me. I mean, I don't know, but
another Renaissance man. Nice.
Yeah. An eggplant man. So, Brendan, you have developed many different ventures, such as your travel and lifestyle photography blog, Shade Life Studios, and House of Drums. Is there a venture or a business entity that you have not made that you want to create?
Interesting. I can tell you where I'm at currently.
Okay.
I've spent, since I was a teenager, being behind the camera in so many ways. But then in my lifestyle as a dancer, so much of that is performative. And it's in front of an audience, it's in front of a theater, it's in front of people. And those two worlds kind of, they conflict at times. Mm-hmm. Behind the camera, you have a certain etiquette, a certain perspective and how you operate in communication with your team. And then performance is a little out there at times. You have to go into other areas of your life and psyche to be able to perform at a certain caliber and level. So lately, I've actually started an acting career on the other side of the camera. So I've been studying. I've been taking weekly classes and different workshops. Last year, I got an agent. So it's been a really cool journey, but I guess you could say business-wise or endeavors, this is kind of the new stage I'm at, and I'm in no rush. I try to take every craft for what it is. It's a craft, so you have to immerse yourself, you have to learn it, you have to understand it, you have to resonate with it. So I'm in no rush, but I'm really enjoying the craft of acting, and also the process of it is probably one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had as well. Like how you have to really create certain compassion towards characters, and even if it's a villain, you can't judge it. You have to resonate. So it's an awesome art form, and I'm really enjoying it. And that would probably be, I'm hoping for the next 10, 15 years of my life, really diving into that craft and making it a thing. Along simultaneously, being a filmmaker for my company. So how that works, I have no idea, but that's the recent endeavor and journey that I've been on.
Okay, very cool. I'm glad you're enjoying the acting side and being, I would say, in front of camera more and more, because acting, whether you do it as a theatrical performance or whether it be on camera, whatever the case may be, it's a, I don't want to say out of body experience, but there's such a connection to the art that once you're immersed with it, there's nothing that really resonates even more to it. Like, it's a once in a lifetime uh, connection that you have within yourself and the performance that you're delivering. And depending on the character that you're doing and the scenario, like, you can resonate with so many different emotions, so many different beats, so many different connections, and really make a one of a kind overall performance. So
Yeah.
there's nothing, there's nothing quite like it.
Yeah, one thing I realized with acting is even if we're not doing it professionally, we all act. You know, like, how are you feeling? And you feel like really crappy, but you're also like, oh, I feel great. You know, like, you're acting.
Yeah.
That's not real. You know, or going into a job that you hate and you still shake people's hands and, hey, good morning, nice to see you. It's not real. It's fake, but that's it. So you realize that acting is a lot more of a human experience than it is just like the art of pretending. You know, we all pretend. You know, are you lying? No. Like, you know, we all create this experience in everyday life. So once I'm, at least for me, I'm learning to translate everyday life into the craft and the craft into everyday life, which I think that is where I find it really exciting, because then you're just living after that. You know, you're not making it one or the other. You're just in the moment and you're alive in that moment.
Absolutely, and that's the key of it. It's living in the moment when you're portraying the scenario, the characters, and the intent of the character's direction. It's not thinking in your head. It's thinking and speaking with your heart and your emotion. So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, even going back to from like this public speaking aspect of things, that's helped me transition into where I'm at now. You know, because that's all about being off book. That's all just like knowing your lines and then hitting your mark, but also it's creating an intention and communicating it. I think the only difference with acting is that there's certain techniques to get you a little bit more emotionally prepped and presented, or body aspects or maneuvers, or even choreography for that extent to portray it, between positioning and character to body language itself, how you communicate that. And I think going from public speaking to acting, it's a similar transition, but very different. But at the same time, it's still storytelling, just in a different craft. And yes, at the end, that's what I feel I am. I'm a storyteller.
At the end of the day, and you're being a storyteller in a lot of different mediums, so it makes you very versatile. You're a versatile storyteller.
Mm-hmm. Or
absolutely. My next question is, who is the dream connection you want to have on speed dial in the future?
Dream connection.
Yeah.
On speed dial.
Yeah. Like,
I would say two of them in opposite directions. I'm an action movie buff, so Jackie Chan is one of my childhood heroes.
Okay.
So having that connection, I mean, to me, he's not only a great performer, but also an innovator in so many ways. He not only changed the idea of a fight sequence, but also how it's filmed. So just getting his insight, his perspective, just how he thinks. Even though like his most recent work is not as, I guess you could say, as the high caliber that he once put out, but I don't think that's his agenda either. And the other person would be The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, which is in like the total opposite in that one, as far as like how it's filmed. And that's more because I'll be honest, I can't say that I started watching any film with The Rock in it because I thought he was a great actor. I just watched it because it's The Rock, you know.
Sure.
And that in that perspective, I think his approach in the brand that he's built or the character that he's built in wrestling, outside of wrestling, it's still like the same. And I think that's a really smart approach So I just would always like to have like a speed dial to like, hey man, what do you think of this idea of branding or this idea of hard work, or I don't know. He just has that perspective that I like. So either one. So from the crazy wild comedic world of Jackie Chan to the hardworking grind superstar aspect of The Rock, that would be the two I would on speed dial. I know I'm not supposed to pick two, but that's my answer.
That's okay. No, I like it. I like the comparison, and you have two different connections from two different walks of life. So I like that. And since you mentioned that, now I'm gonna have to tag both Jackie Chan and The Rock and be like, hey, we're following you guys. Let's connect. Let's talk about branding. Let's talk about marketing. Let's say, or let's just hang out. You never know. You never know. You could be watching this right now.
I do have to say that The Rock's recent work in the last couple films from, let me see, what was the last one? Red Notice. I think that's what it is, the Red Notice. I think he did phenomenal in it. And what was the other one he did? Jungle Cruise, is that it?
Yeah, Jungle Cruise.
With Disney. What I like about it is it was a little bit more in depth of the character that I'm used to with him, and that was nice to get a little bit more in depth. It's a Disney film, but I just think he did really great.
He did.
Jackie Chan, one of my favorite films of him is Who Am I, which is one of my favorite ones. Like, it's a classic one, Drunken Master. But in recent times, I think it's The Foreigner. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Foreigner? I think that's what it is. That's like more recent one, but yeah, that one, which is funny because I wanted to go see it with my wife, and I went to the theaters, and the theater was empty. I was like, what's going on? Nobody wants to see Jackie Chan? Come to find out, he was doing like a premiere in Miami Beach, and everybody went to that premiere, and I missed it.
Oh man, you could have met him. You had connections. You could have met Jackie Chan.
I could have had him on speed dial. I know, man. It's so sad.
It's okay. It's okay. But next movie, he comes back down. He's gonna come back down here. It's gonna happen. When he comes back down here, the universe gonna work itself together, and you're gonna be like, boom, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna make that connection. I'm gonna find a way to get into that theater and be like, boom, I met Jackie Chan. Boom, here's my number, and there you go. And then that's gonna fulfill that question.
Exactly. And if Jackie's ever seeing this, I just want to say, he's not just as an artist or as a fight scene choreographer or even as an actor, but as a filmmaker, he really changed our perspective on the wide shot, the sequence, because in a lot of American films, fight sequences are wide shot, medium, close up, and then it's cuts, but he really, as a dancer, I really appreciate it, because as a dancer, you appreciate a full sequence. Like, oh, I can't believe they did that, or they put their leg here, and then from this move creatively, they moved here. Jackie always films on a wide angle perspective on a long shot, which I really appreciate, because then you can see a sequence in its entirety without getting the quick cuts, and you just see it for what it is. And that, to me, that's freaking beautiful.
It is. It absolutely is. So pretty cool. Next question.
Yes, sir.
Why do people like the board game Monopoly so much?
Because in the game of Monopoly, it's a game.
Yes.
That has to do with money.
Yes.
But it's a reflection of life in a lot of ways, about how we treat money, and then also how we are poor stewards of money in so many ways. But it's like this hope that if in this game, if I can win financially here, then I can do that in real life. I think it's just desire to, same reason we watch action films. We hope that life is so dramatic, there's this need, there's this desire to want to win in life financially. So when you play the game, like my wife and I, whenever we play, my wife gets so into it, and it's just so funny to see both of us, how the way that we play Monopoly is the way we spend money in real life. It's bad, it's sad, but it's also fun to watch.
Of course. I always say the two games, Monopoly and Uno, are the two most dangerous games. Those are friendship ruiners, and those can be like relationship breakers if you get too far into it, too competitive, they could start something. And I think it's because of that kind of human nature competitiveness. And also with Monopoly, it's like you're using obviously Monopoly money, but it's like there's a lot of reality to it. Like I can go buy properties, I could do this, and then it may not work. I may go bankrupt, make something like that. So there's a lot of realness to it.
Well, Monopoly is strategic in
Right.
its, in its basic form, and I think as you approach it and you look at it, you're from the get. It's a game, but I think it's because it has to do with money more than anything. It's like, yeah, it's a game, so it's like Candyland's get to the end, don't lose. But nobody likes to lose and be broke, because that's just like that's a reflection of life, where like that's just not a good feeling. So walking away from that game, you can feel pretty horrible about yourself at the same time.
This is true, and that's Monopoly. These are questions. We're not here to make people feel horrible. We're not like that. We're here to make people feel educated and happy. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. So,
have you played the voting game yet?
The voting game? No. What is that?
It's the card game. I mean, it's not like a deck of cards. Well, it is a deck of cards, but it's where there's like a question. You're in a group of friends, and there's a question like, who's most likely to succeed, or who's the person you're going to see on your front newspaper or whatever, and then everyone votes at who they think it is. That game will get you in trouble in your relationships, because the honesty will come out.
Oh boy, I could see that. If you with a good close group of friends, or with like close relationships, I could see that going really well or backfiring really quickly. So
yeah.
Okay. I got to check that card game out. I've been too busy with card games since I have my actual card game, No Cheese, No Coin, coming out soon. So,
Oh, I'm excited. Nice plug. I like that. I definitely got to play.
Yes, that's why I asked this question. It's just a plug for my card game. That's all it is. Go buy it. Please buy it. Hopefully it'll be out by then, by this episode comes out. Who knows? But go buy it.
That's amazing.
Well, very cool. Thank you for letting me know about that, about the voting game. I got to check that out. Next question, though, is what is the best piece of advice you have received in your story career so far?
Mine's a bad advice, but it's a good advice.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I should tell you the full story, but I guess I will.
It's up to you.
I used to work for a reputable news station.
Okay.
And I wrote a story.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the producers. I guess, section or area, and a lot of that has to do with writing the stories for the news. And I wrote something, and I got pulled into the office, and my exec producer, I guess you could say, got really upset at me about like the story that I wrote. And I said, "But this is the facts. This is what people told me." And he says, "This is what he told me." He says, "Never let the truth get in the way of a good story." And
that's some questions there. That's some question mark popping up there.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure if it's a good thing to say, but I won't say what news station, of course. But at the end of the day, all news is like that. I know that's not probably too political, but in a lot of ways, there's it's the idea of what a story is. A story is like it's not true sometimes, but it's also very true. It's and that's what I think is important about how you tell a story. It's like comedians, when they tell a story, what makes it funny is the embellishment of the story, which isn't necessarily true.
Yeah.
But it tells a story that makes you laugh because it exceeds what the actual story is. So it's not that it's true, but it's so funny that it's more than true. And sometimes it's not fully true. That feels so real.
Yeah.
And that's the weird balance of it. It's almost like I don't know if you ever heard the quote, the abstract is more real than reality.
I haven't heard that quote.
Which is the concept of like math, for example. Math is an abstract, so it's numbers, times tables, addition, but like literally technically numbers don't exist physically, right? It's a way that we've created humanity so to help us understand how to put things together. But math has helped us build roads, it's helped us build buildings, it's helped us accumulate things and build things up, subtract things. It's helped us in so many ways to really build our life that it's real, it's really there. So while it's not realistically there, it's more real than reality itself. And that's what a story is. So you could take that from like ancient scripture. You could take that to poetry. Poetry, for example, if somebody says, when I found my wife, it's like I found my other half. Literally, that's not true because you're not cut in half, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a figurative speech.
But it's more real than reality itself. So the reality is I'm not in half, but the conversation of it. So that's the idea. Not that that's what my boss at the time was talking about.
No.
But that is a very profound statement when it comes to storytelling. And also, honestly, media manipulation at the same time. I mean, drama, fiction, even vlogs, for example. I mean, you look at how vlogging is today. In some sense, it started as this is the real thing. This is how people live your life. Now you're like, I don't know how real that is, but it's still entertaining. And it also portrays how maybe I want to live my life, right? Or how I want to do things. Right. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, because a good story is really what changes humanity's perspective. And that's an oxymoron, because that's not right, but also that's just the way that we operate in life as storytellers and also people that consume stories. Yep. An action film didn't really happen, but it makes me want to get off my ass and go do something, and or films that are about family, and it's not that it's based on a true story or it's inspired by. It doesn't matter if it did or it didn't happen. It changes me at some point level. Film, to me, has the ability to move one's soul. And when you have that capability and you can put it into a craft, I think that's beautiful. That's why I love film, from one side of the camera to the other side of the camera. That would be the best advice I ever got, which is not advice. It's just the truth.
Yeah, but it's a piece of advice that resonated and it stuck with you. And sometimes the worst advice can be the best advice you ever received. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think you have some very profound points with that. And just to cap off before I go into my final question, whatever goes on the camera and whatever scene is from the cameraman or the camera operator's perspective. No matter what the story is, no matter what you're trying to portray is, it will never be 100% exactly what happened, because it's just what the camera is recording and what the camera operator is seeing as important or seen as effective, or whatever the case may be, So
I mean, it's an art form.
It's an art form, yeah.
And I think that's important to always know. And I think what's also important to know is that the art and craft of filmmaking doesn't just exist in cinema. It exists in various areas of media. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's tough about like the world we live in today, is that there's a blurred line. You don't know what is what, you don't know what is real, what is fake. And at the end, like if you ever go to New York or if you go to Miami, it just seems like one big photo shoot. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's a good
photographers everywhere, and even if it's with the phone or not, and it makes New York feel beautiful, but the concept of people going outside to take a photo is crazy. But at the same time, that's the world we live in. So the idea of frames, the idea of perspective, the idea of storytelling, even if it's in one image, one still image. I mean, film in itself, video is motion pictures, so it's just a bunch of pictures in motion, so it's all very similar and the same. So it exists in all areas. And going back to acting, you realize that acting isn't just in the art form, it's also in humanity itself. So it's a really interesting world we live in, and that's why I think I really enjoy, but also more and more fall in love with the idea of filmmaking, but also overall the idea of communicating a thought, an idea, perspective, whether it's in cinema or if it's in communication, public speaking, or if it's in dialogue form or just telling a story.
Yeah. Simple as that. Very cool. Now, my last question is a question that I'm asking every single guest here on These Are Questions Season 3. And the question is that I am making a playlist, a music playlist, this season on These Are Questions. And I'm asking each guest to tell me, and you can give me up to 5, that's the max, but can you give me some of your favorite songs that you like that define your personality.
Okay, one of my favorite songs of all time, Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan. Classic. You got Dancing in the Moonlight. I think that's by Top Loader.
Yes.
But I would say the Walk to Remember remix, the one from the movie. That's one of my all-time favorites. It makes me feel good. It kind of reminds me of just a certain time in my life where I felt really young and happy. Not that I'm not happy now, just taking the young into perspective. Young and happy is different than older and happy. Let me see. That's two, right?
That's two.
Moving up or move on up to the generation. I forgot who is that by? I feel horrible not knowing who that's by.
That is a good question. I can look it up if you have like Spotify real quick or like a YouTube real quick.
Look it up right now.
Let's look it up. Let's have it.
I feel like I should know that, and that's really sad for me. But
that's okay. I put you on the spot. You know, these are questions. I put people on the spot sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes.
Okay, here we go. Oh, Curtis Mayfield. Duh. Okay. That'll be that one. Let me see here. That's three, right?
That is three.
Four would be it's called A Better Life by Estero, Esthero.
Okay.
And that is the song that inspired me to move to Florida from New York. I grew up in New York, and it was a snowy day, and my car was kind of skidding, like I hit the brake and it just skidded from the stop sign, and it pulled over, and it was just like one of those like, man, I gotta get out of here type of thing. You know, growing up, snow is great, but growing up on it is a different perspective. And this house song, I think it's remixed or produced by Ian Pooley. The vocals is by Estero. I think that's how you say it, Esthero. And it's called A Better Life. It's just about going somewhere warm. So that's what inspired me to move to Florida. Let me see how many more I got. 2 more, 3 more?
One more. That was 4, so that's 1 more. So the max is 5. No pressure.
Yeah, I'm not Spanish, but I used to dance salsa a lot. Luis Enrique, Yo No Sé Mañana. I know it's about a couple that doesn't really know what's gonna happen tomorrow, but I think just the chorus, that he doesn't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, so just live in the moment just resonates with my soul. So no one knows what's gonna happen. Oh, I forgot one. Can I add a 6th one?
Sure, you're breaking the rules. It's okay. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
What's the
all-time favorite song is called La Vida by Mikasa. They're from South Africa. It's a house track. I listen to a lot of underground, but this is probably my life anthem. La Vida.
Okay.
He says in Portuguese. I don't know it word for word, but he says, "Life is so beautiful, it makes me cry." And whenever I hear it, I'm just like, "Oh, that's it. That's my life right there. That's life is beautiful, even when it's not."
Very cool. All right, I like this mix. We are adding along into this massive playlist for These Are Questions, and we've gotten all walks of life in music. We've gotten everything, so just adds to the fire, adds fuel to the fire. So I can't wait.
I'm thinking too many songs, man, because I'm a DJ too, so I'm just thinking of all the songs that I love. It's tough. It's a tough one.
That's a tough one. It is, especially when you're a music buff. Like, it's hard because it's like I gotta bring it down to 5. And personality, Steven, what is wrong with you? Why would you ask me this question? So that's what we're here for. That's what happens. That's what happens here on These Are Questions.
I get it.
Mm-hmm. We are at the end of our interview. Brendan, it is a pleasure being a part, and thank you so much for being a part of These Are Questions Season 3. Now, this is your time to shine. Anything you want to promote, anything you want to talk about, any last words before we go off for this interview, the internet is now yours.
Yeah, I guess I would say, a big thing that changed my perspective on creativity is community itself. I think you're always better off creating amongst people, even if you don't fully agree with them. And I think that's something we all need to learn. And I've learned it within creativity. I don't have to necessarily fully agree with somebody to, to be able to create with them or to work alongside them. Mm-hmm. And that's when you're a part of a community, you realize how strong you could be, how talented, creative you can be, but you also realize how small you can be. And that's important. You need to be humble through your craft, to learn, to know, to have confidence in yourself around the people, but also know you don't really have that you can lose it all at the same time. And that's like this perspective of this moment has passed, or the moment will pass, or this too shall pass, which is like when you have good days, it's great, but just know it's gonna pass. And when you have bad days, it sucks, but it's gonna pass. And I think just being amongst a community helps so much more of your journey. So even when it's not going great, at least you got some homies in your corner to be there with you. And when you celebrate, you're not on a mountain by yourself at the top. You're amongst your people. And that's what it is. And I was raised in hip hop culture, so they say, conquer your block, conquer your block, conquer the world, which really to me it just means like win for the home team and build on that. And wherever you go, they'll follow. So that's been a really big part of my journey, is just trying to stay connected to my community. And whatever win I make, they make as well. Whatever win they make, makes it all worthwhile to be a part of their journey as well. So community.
There you go. Okay. And we'll end off with that. Great words, great talk, great interview. Thank you so much again for being a part of These Are Questions Season 3. Episodes are currently out at the moment, and we are wrapping up with our season as we continue on with the show itself. If you want to view any of Brendan's medias, any of my medias, it will all be in the description down below, along with the playlist of all These Are Questions episodes. So with that, all I just have to say is thank you so much, everyone, for watching and or listening. If you're listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube, wherever you're getting this episode. And thank you so much. And good night, everyone.
Thanks for having me, Steven.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You could be someone watching this right now at midnight. 12:01 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You could be watching this episode or listening to this episode. These Are Questions. Who knows?